Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase, pricing, and availability questions concerning this watch. If your platonic ideal of Panerai watchmaking involves two hands, no complications, and the bilge grime of a battleship in a harbor at night, this is not the watch for you. However, if you like complications, autologerie, if you're a fan of MB&F, of Grubel Forsey, of Uhrwerk, and maybe even a little bit of Holy Trinity halo glow, this watch right here is right up your alley. You're looking at a 2008 model year limited edition of 150 pieces in grade 5 titanium. This is the Panerai Luminor 1950 Tourbillon PAM00306. So, as the name implies, it is a tourbillon, it is a GMT. It has a power reserve of 6 days, courtesy of 3 mainspring barrels. There's a 30-second tourbillon back there. Guys, this watch is stacked. I realize it is not for the purists, though if you are still listening and you are a Paneristo, you will be pleased to know that the watch does have explosive luminescence, a high degree of water resistance, and large size. So it is, in many regards, a Panerai, and you will find a world of 26mm sized straps if you wish to accessorize it. Now, this watch is full box and papers, and I know that speaks to both traditional and non-traditional Paneristi, so I'm going to throw it out there. In terms of size, it delivers on the promise of the brand and the frankly absurd 36.6mm diameter tourbillon movement. So 47 in diameter, it's 19.3 thick, and yes, that is a sapphire, not a plexi. It's 57.6 from lug tip to lug tip with a 26mm spacing between the lugs, as we discussed. And you can see it uses the very premium system with the push button release and the retaining bar. So more deluxe even than the screws and bars, and far more high-end and secure than a spring bar setup. On my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, probably a little bit too big. I say a little bit too big because too big is sort of the Panerai look, but I do think that this watch is pushing the limits of possibility. So if my wrist is 16 centimeters, I'm going to say you want maybe a 17 centimeter circumference wrist to wear this, unless you're okay with a little bit of bulge beyond your wrist. Now, it is light. It's all sapphire and titanium, so it doesn't feel big, but just take a look and decide for yourself. 16 centimeter wrist. The strap, very upscale. Panerai generally uses calfskin and rubber, so to see this large, rectangular, and symmetrical scale alligator leather, money was spent here. That combination of physical features and attributes generally describes a very expensive cut of the gator. Black, semi-gloss, we've got a monotone stitch. There is some bolstering or volume in here. And then we've got an edge that looks like it might be shear cut, but it's actually folded with a monotone binding stitch. And then we have the very traditional Panerai trapezoidal buckle, and you could see that it too is made of titanium like the case. So this is grade 5 tie, which means it's light and hypoallergenic like grade 2, but it's also a little bit more resistant to scratching, which is a nice feature to have on a watch that is substantial, expensive, and prominent. This is the world's most famous crown guard. Admit it, you know what brand and what model line. I don't need to tell you anything else about the watch. Back in the late 1940s, this was developed for deployment in the 50s as a solution to the problem of the original Rolex-built Panerai cases. Those oyster cases had oyster crowns, which meant screwing in and out and in and out and in and out to wind and set. So the idea became, well, instead of wearing out the stem tube assembly and its seals with some sort of a threaded stalk, let's just have a system that compresses and decompresses the seals. So here you go, compressed, 100 meters water resistant, fully released. Now I can wind it if I wish to do so. I can engage the mobile local hour hand, or I can set everything in sync. And you can see that there is a secondary time zone there. And then for distinction, there is an AM PM that's located at 3 o'clock. So if I want to, I can, for example, cover these things up and clean up the dial, since I have two 12-hour hands, and then I've got the AM PM distinction for the secondary time zone over at 3 o'clock. So it allows me to clean things up a little bit. Now, what's fascinating over on the dial side is where you have these overlapping little registers, and you can see one is outpacing the other. So one of those is actually your tourbillon operation pace indicator, because it is a 30-second tourbillon that spins at twice the pace of a regular tourbillon, and then you have your seconds hand right next to it. Back to the crown guard, you can see that there's actually a little runner bearing inside the cam lobe that makes this smoother operating than past examples. It also gives you more protection than a shouldered crown guard, because if you hit this thing perpendicular, you're not going to damage it. On a shouldered crown guard like a Rolex or Omega, you still have that chance of a direct hit damaging it. Also, it's a lot easier to use this crown locking mechanism when your hands are wet, sweaty, gloved, or slimy. And then, of course, it's also harder to drown your watch, because when you jump in the water, this is a lot harder to miss than a screw-down crown that's maybe backed out 2 or 3 turns. The dial is a sort of tobacco matte, which has rose gold accents for richness, and you can see that it is a sandwich dial. We do have a sapphire. I want to emphasize it looks like plexi. It is a sapphire, but it's bubbled and domed, designed to look like a vintage Panerai. The whole Luminor 1950 is designed to resemble the 6152 combat watch that was used in the 1950s and produced in the 1950s. So Luminor back then was a less radioactive paint than the previous radium-based Radiomir. Today, Luminor means this kind of case with the crown guard structure. 1950 means that it's more like that 1950s reference 6152. Panerai started doing that in the modern era with the PAM127 in 2002, so that's where this design comes from. So the dial does feature sandwich construction, which is a Panerai heritage element, where you've got this stencil, in this case of tobacco brown, over a solid disc of lume. So it's both very luminescent and very distinct when you turn the lights out. You can see everything here is quite well loomed, including the secondary time zone, the secondary time zone's AM/PM indicator, and then the running seconds. And if you look carefully, you can see those wells through the stencil, giving it a little bit of a depth to its luminescence. One other detail I should have mentioned, the underside of this strap, which is brand new, by the way, is calfskin, so just to be clear about that. Rolling around to the reverse of the case, this is where things really heat up. Now, Panerai is not known for horlogerie, but when Eric Klein was designing the original Panerai in-house calibers back in the early 2000s, it was always intended that there would be a tourbillon variant. So that's what we have here. 3 mainspring barrels provide 6 days of power reserve, and here's a little quirk of the watch. The power reserve indicator, and only the power reserve indicator, is loomed on the reverse side. The movement is large. At 36.6 millimeters, the movement made in Panerai's Neuchâtel manufacture proves that the company does have the chops to fill a case with a movement that's properly sized to suit. If you look here, you can see that this is finished to a higher standard than other Panerai watches. In particular, the mirrored nature of the bevels, the media blast and beveling of the tourbillon structure itself, the polishing of the screws. Now, I'm not going to say that this is finished to the level of Grubel Forsey or even Holy Trinity, but this is a huge step up from conventional Panerai, so please just keep that in mind. This is not as perfunctory a finish. We've got little things like the media blasted recess of the power reserve indicator, the rose gold number plate for the days of power reserve remaining, and then those 3 barrels for a very long power reserve and a very flat torque curve throughout. Look at the tourbillon enclosure, and you can actually see that the walls as well as a plate underneath have been mirror finished to better reflect light. I'm going to do my best to capture this. Here you can see the tourbillon has individual edition numbers. This is K series, so 2008, and this is number 67 of 150 made. It beats away at 28,800 vibrations per hour. And you could appreciate that the tourbillon's not normal. It has a tourbillon axis, or at least I should say a tourbillon axis and a balance staff axis that are perpendicular to each other. Aside from the fact that it makes one turn every 30 seconds, which is twice the speed of a normal tourbillon, the fact that it does have that perpendicular orientation means that this watch will actually do quite a bit to cancel the effect of gravity on timing, especially when it is static at night. And then taking another close look, you'll appreciate that. Well, let me see if you can hear it. I'm going to actually hold this up to the mic. I don't know if you heard that, but this is a very vocal tourbillon. You can really hear that thing hammering away. And in a quiet room at night, you'll sort of have a love-hate relationship with it, since the Panerai rotisserie tourbillon, as it's affectionately known, is incredibly loud, partly due to its pace, partly due to the size of the mechanism. Another interesting element here is that you'll note that the balance staff on both sides features shock protection, which makes it more suitable for a Panerai sensibility, since most tourbillon regulators industry-wide are not shock protected. So this is actually a much more viable daily sports watch. 31 pivot jewels, and you can see the movement is beautifully bulky with engine turning on the base plate. It's a lovable lug of a movement that truly impresses and lives up to the reputation of Klein and the work he did with Richemont companies during the 2000s. This is an incredible movement and an incredible watch. Again, if you love simplicity, if you've ever considered bidding on a vintage Panerai, if you eschew anything with more than two hands, it is not the Panerai for you. Move on. There are plenty of Basse or base models out there. This is for those who love complications, who love Grubel Forsey, who love Erwerk, who love MB&F, and want something that's maybe a little bit more durable than any of those in the field. So if you think that might be you, reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.